Hey everyone, this is the week 5 YouTube presentation on interviews and applications. My article that I did my research on came from entrepreneurpress.com. It basically was everything that we covered in class. Uh, it mostly focused on the discrimination that you can get when you work in the interviewing process part of hiring, and it's covered not only how you can avoid getting uh, suits on discrimination, but also how to avoid saying a question that can be taken as trying to figure somebody's marital status or possibly their religion. So the very first part of my document went over how to prepare for your interview. It basically said that you should look over the applicant's not only his basic information like his name and his education and all that basic information, but also try and find out a little bit about the applicant. That way you know what kinds of questions you should be asking him. It also goes into checking for reference checks, and also if he took any kinds of exams or drug screenings that you should know about. Like, let's say he did a previous drug screening and he failed. Possibly you might want to see if he had the reason why he had failed those, and if he would be willing to take another test. And that would also kind of limit your need to do other applicants. Just kind of get the ones out of the way. The article then goes into talking about you should basically avoid all kinds of small talk when you're doing your hiring, because any kind of small talk, like let's say you wanted to ask the person what's your height and weight, that's totally off limits. So even small talk, like if you're trying to get the applicant to feel more comfortable with the interview and the situation that he's in, it can actually lead to you being in a lawsuit for discrimination or for other kinds of problems. It then tells you what you can be accused of. Obviously, Title VII of the Civil Rights Act in 1964, which we covered in class. It basically can't say anything in an interview that would go against age, sex, race, disability, all those good things. And it finishes off with a couple of questions that you should absolutely avoid, and then some that you should either not word the way that some people do, or just avoid those completely as well. That way you also avoid getting in trouble. There's all kinds of ways that you can get some information that you're looking for later on in the hiring process versus asking it in an interview and possibly not only risking your job but the company's name. Some of the things to take away from this is that you should definitely be looking into the necessary qualifications of the job. That way you're not asking random questions trying to fill up interview time. You're basically there to ask them if they're qualified for the job and what makes them qualified for the job with what they have on their resume. You're not there to ask them, oh well, are you married? Are you a Christian? That has nothing to do with the job, which is what an interview is about. It's also why most judges will also go for the applicant's defense, because if you're asking the question, it obviously has to pertain to the job. And if you're being discriminatory in the interview, it has to be important to the job. Therefore, that's how you get blamed in the end. So basically, if you avoid those types of questions, and also they say if you are very if you're very nervous about a type of job and you're not up to the interviewing standards, you should actually go and get your HR person or somebody else. Therefore, you're kind of taking off the blame off of you if you're not comfortable with it, and you're putting it in the hands of somebody who might be more accustomed to doing those types of interview processes. And if you have somebody who's not adept to doing those kinds of interview jobs either, and you find that you're, let's say, going out of town or doing an important meeting, make sure you give them a list of things that they can read off of, and also situational questions, but make sure they're not reading it directly off the list, but making it so that they're not slipping away from the list and trying to possibly get you in trouble. But that way you protect yourself and the company from these types of situations going on. So how does that relate to culinary and the hospitality industry? Well, of course, everybody needs to interview so that everybody gets a job. So make sure that, like I said, everybody is knowledgeable about the interview process, therefore they don't get you in trouble or the company, and also that they understand the importance of the interview and how to make the interview more about the job instead of the person. If you guys have any questions, I would gladly answer them in class about this subject. And thank you.